Hey y'all, this is the Zen and Coco podcast, where conversations are always centered on relatable and real as fuck self-care for super chill black girls. I'm your host, Tameko, aka the Cocoa Butter Mama, and this week I'm talking self-care 101. Yes, that's right, we're going to take it back, take it from the beginning, we're going to start from the bottom. I'm going to define what self-care is. I'm going to go over common self-care types. And we're going to get into the answer on, is self-care really as important as everyone makes it out to be, right? And I know that the word self-care can make a lot of us just glaze and gloss right on over. I get it. Eyes rolling into the back of your head because it's so heavily used and tossed around. And of course, it's also linked to like mad marketing and advertising because we all know self-care demands where them dollars at. Hello, and I also am a product maker, so I'm guilty of it too. But today's show is supposed to allow us like a space to reset all of that wild programming, and begin to move away from this belief for a lot of us that self-care is only limited to topical and physical experiences or products, and that it has to be expensive. So remember, it's always way deeper than just products or even services, and we're about to get into it. So enjoy the show.
You are now tuned in to Zen and Coco, the podcast centering radically unapologetic self-care for super chill black girls.
Hey, welcome back, y'all. This is episode number 2, Sis, Self-Care Saves. And before we jump into all the stuff I would like to cover today, I want to thank you all so deeply. Oh my goodness, like so deeply for the past 7 days filled with love from y'all checking out the first Zen and Coco podcast episode. I still can't even believe I did that. But y'all have shown up with downloads, shares, just feedback, and just such an overall positive and like warm and encouraging reception. I'm floored and gagging and just basking in all of it. And y'all, I was like worried and stressed like too long about it going every other kind of way. Hello, self-doubt and overthinking. But it's really just been so affirming to know that y'all care about my feelings and thoughts. And it's just been so confidence boosting. And now that I got those like first episode jitters out the way, I'm so ready to dive in and just go. So again, y'all, sincerely, thank you. Thank you. I can't wait to keep going and growing with y'all. So moving ahead, now for some quick announcements, which seems like a good place to start just from here on out every week. Because, hey, we like to keep you all up to speed. But fun stuff to note. Y'all, the podcast is literally streaming on every platform that I could get it on. I was like so serious thinking about like, let's get this thing all the way out and deep into these streets. So with that being said, you can now find Zen and Coco streaming on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music and Audible, Google Podcasts, YouTube, iHeartRadio, Podbean, TuneIn, Amazon Echo, Podcast Addict, Deezer, Player FM, and finally, Listen Notes. Yes, so that was a lot, but all links can be found on the Zen and Coco webpage, and I'll absolutely add all of those details in the bottom of the podcast description. And just following up with that, leading over to the website. I've been trying to like pull this whole vibe together for like the movement. I want y'all to get into the aesthetics, the visuals, hit up the website. Know that I have created this really cool, super like cute, and most importantly, free 7-day self-care planner, and I have it available to download on the webpage. But if I ain't tell y'all that, how are you supposed to know? So that's another note. The direct download link is like littered all throughout my links on the social media, and of course, direct download on the webpage. And of course, those download links and things will also be added to the description. So last announcement for the week, and here is a super shout out and shameless plug to go check out the brand new Cosmic Drag podcast hosted by my boo and all of our homegirl, the homegirl healer. She just dropped her first episode this week, this past Monday to be exact. And I want you all to absolutely go check out her first episode. Support my sister. Yeah, let's get it. So, okay, again, transitioning into, I kind of want to go back, but not fully back, but just a little bit back, into the first episode last week. I'm feeling so enthusiastic, but I also felt like I missed some important thoughts that I coulda, shoulda, woulda shared with y'all. Particularly like, duh, girl, what kind of content are we giving or expecting, and what are we doing here? So, like, again, my bad, y'all. I was nervous and caught up in talking about my purpose and passions, so pardon me. But I do want to continue talking to y'all from the heart, though. So I hope that's cool. That is actually one of the bits of content that I felt called to share. I love talking. I talk a lot. Hello, y'all. And I just feel like I try to be relatable and I try to just kick it straight. And so I hope you guys appreciate that. So I absolutely want to be coming with like my anecdotal stories and just whatever little nonsense I'm talking about related to the topic of the week, right? But I also want to be carving out like some specific and more organized self-care topics. You know, there are so many and we can take a lot of directions, but particularly I want to kind of get you all's help even with focusing on and highlighting the self-care topics that like the Zen and Coco Chill, Super Chill Black Girl Collective can agree are like most pressing for us. So I don't know whether that's mental health things, and we out here trying to make sure that our melanin is staying popping. If we think that skincare and mental health are like super, super important self-care topics, then I want to hear from you guys so we can build out some more particular and long form conversations and topics. So that way we're actually getting work done. We're actually being able to find and circulate and share the resources that we need to, you know, feel better or look better, grow, whatever it is. No judgment. We may not be working on our minds. We may be working on our skin, and that's fine too, right? And really, my personal self-care love language in ministry is playing in skincare, bath and body care, and wellness products designed to like maximize the resets that we all need to relax and center and pamper. And again, extra emphasis on, Black girls love like centering our melanin, girl, and getting it popping and just looking like we're just ageless. So I really want to also be getting into giving honest reviews on varied products. You know, I don't really have anything particular in mind, but also share deals and steals on top of that, because I like to kick it real. I feel like I'm definitely going to tell y'all the truth about how I feel about stuff. That's just how I take it. That's just how I go. And I'm also super frugal. I told y'all last week that I don't play about nobody's Afterpay, girl. I will definitely get it, and I'm going to get it on sale. So deals and steals also added into to being able to share like sales and all of that. And I just want us all to be able to pamper our skin with cool options that are accessible no matter your income, and whether you're starting in self-care or you're a seasoned veteran, there's something for everybody. So I thought that would be another fun angle to take. So let me know how y'all think, or let me know what you think, rather, of that. And on the flip side of me solo chatting y'all to death, I also want to introduce some dope conversations with other super cool Black women. That is like one of my other favorite things to do is engage. Everybody has a story. I mean, hello. And I don't really want to get into saying interviews either, because I want us to be connecting and sharing and like vibing organically, true conversational style. I just think that that's really important, and it would ring more authentic, and it actually will just make us all feel like we are part of the Kiki, right? So kind of digging into why I feel that way, I just have been, letting it kind of roll around in my brain that we've all kind of accepted and sit in this like weird space of just expecting and accepting Black women having to tirelessly work all day and night and maintain staying on and stay seated in their professionalism, in their professional capacities, in general, really, but particularly when self-care is the topic of discussion. And please don't get me wrong, or come for me, chill out, because I'm definitely not saying that we don't need that or that's not important or whatever, because it's obviously very valuable to us all to have Black women, health and wellness professionals out here saving the day left and right. So again, please don't take what I'm saying to be a negative assessment. It's just really more about me wanting to just throw into consideration that we should also want to know what these women are doing for self-care when they aren't on the clock. Hello, emphasis, aren't on the clock. Everybody, all of us are trying to make space to just show up in our best, most presentations of ourselves. And I really feel like it's something worth considering and unpacking. And let's also begin to open up the floor to all walks of Black women, who maybe aren't the typical source we're used to tapping for self-care insights. It's a shift for both sides, right? We really got to start embracing the vast way Black women show up. Like, we need to embrace the ways we are different, and stop shying away from each other because of those differences. I mean, heck, for example, let's let the good makeup guru girls like teach us all how to beat our face, just so you know how. Even if it ain't your usual day-to-day, that's cool. It's just another skill set to pick up, and you can learn how to do it flawlessly. Or like learn how to preserve some food at home with the homesteading queens, just in case you ever need the skill. We've had a crazy year of a pandemic, y'all. Like, who ever thought that? That could have been useful to some of us, even though maybe you just love takeout so much and that's really where you go for the most part. But you also are able to receive and understand and find useful someone else's skill sets or information, right? And just to really close out this thought, just know that self-care doesn't start and end with titles, income, or education. And it's really important to me to uphold being relatable and real. And, that's how we started, like cultivating this normalcy between all of us, that we are out here doing stuff. We are outside. We do this. This is not new. We come in all shapes, forms, and we do all of the things, right? So matter of fact, calling out to my super chill millennial Black girls, hit me up, DM me, email me, whatever. I really want to hear from you. If you got a talking point or 2 or 3, girl, I would like to know why self-care is something that you're vested in. Like, why do you make space for it? Or if you want to share how and why you're living your best self-care life. I know y'all are cool as fuck out here. Don't play me. I want to hear from you. I want to hear from you. So whether that turns into come on this podcast and be one of my guests, or if it's just, hey, you allow me to share some of your story or, any of that. I want to hear all of that. Hit me up. So, okay. Now let's get into the good stuff. While we're all here, of course, the meat and the potatoes. It's time for the good part. So let's get let's get into, pardon me, all that mess that I was talking about on the intro with Self-Care 101. So I want to start out with a question, a real one. Now, be honest, how many of us can say, and really be honest and admit it, that we wish we had more time to pay attention to ourselves? I'll ask it again. How many of us can be honest and admit that we wish that we had more time to pay attention to ourselves? To make sure that our well-being was a priority, and that we could routinely invest in it? Maybe you want to try to start a new practice, or maybe you're trying to just get back to something that you used to love, but you somehow put it down and you're just wanting to reconnect. Trust me, if you answered yes to any or all of the above, you are so far, far, far away from alone, honey. And let me just tell you, I'm raising both hands right now while I record because new motherhood has added a whole new layer of this wish for me, and that's on facts. So, okay, Tameko girl, what is self-care then? So I also would like to assume we all can agree that taking care of ourselves is a great thing, a good thing to do. However, it's also really easy for a lot of us to just write off self-care as some silly indulgence, instead of, really seeing it as a vital necessity for our happiness and overall health and wellness. I mentioned it before and really feel as though advertising and marketing is the culprit for this widespread generalization, because the underlying messaging is to associate self-care solely with spending money, and lots of it, by the way, to get the best or whatever, maybe the only form of self-care. Obviously, I'm being dramatic, but that's the presentation. It's if you don't get this, then basically you suck, right? And I guess it's well-intentioned enough, but this basically stunts a lot of us from tapping into a more fuller and practical approach to both, our short and long-term self-care habits. Because so many of us Black women are used to operating by centering ourselves last. And hell, sometimes that last is not at all. So, operating from a space of that kind of depletion is okay, so now you're tired. Now we tired. And then it becomes even more easy for us to then make an additional excuse, another reason why you can't start, you won't start, you're too tired. And let's also keep it funky, because starting is a thing, but finishing is another thing. So you're tired and you can't finish also. Starting stuff that you need to start, but you can't, and not finishing stuff that you need to finish, but you can't, are real horrible outcomes to being overworked, undervalued, okay, and not being tuned into trying to find a grip with connecting to our self-care. And it's man, how do I want to say this? We're so cut off as a group, generally, from taking our joy, our pleasure, our satisfaction and fulfillment into day-to-day considerations. It's a problem that affects us in such a great manner that it's how are we not connecting that, girl, in all of our differences? A lot of us are in the same, though, because we're all pinging hot in this regard, right? So all of that to say, we really have to take a stand somewhere and start remembering that centering ourselves and centering our self-care is going to actually make it easier and easier to show up in our other roles of pouring into our families and communities and rearing the babies and being teachers and everything else that we do. I really love how I'm looking at a resource that I found before recording, and I really loved how verywellmind.com cleanly and kind of quickly defines self-care as a multi-dimensional, multifaceted process of purposeful engagement in strategies that promote healthy functioning and enhance well-being. I'm going to read it one more time. And this is the definition of self-care coming from verywellmind.com. Self-care is defined as a multi-dimensional, multifaceted process of purposeful engagement in strategies that promote healthy functioning and enhance well-being. In addition to their definition, I would just also like to add and emphasize that these multifaceted strategies that they mentioned should be specific to your particular needs and wants. Your particular needs and wants. This is not me, Tameko, telling you do A through Z and now you're going to be magically like happy and just fulfilled. No. That's actually a part of the process too, I think, is taking ownership of defining what you need. Like, it's not anybody else's job. It is work for you, but it should not be difficult or scary. It should be a challenge that you want to go and conquer, right? Because we need to get comfortable with defining these things for ourselves so that we're able to actually change the lifestyle, not just slap like this temporary bit of fun or R&R on top of it. And think that everything is good to go. Remember that we want to kind of like visualize ourselves as this whole total pie, and self-care, like, categories are the pie pieces, if you will, right? So, I'm really just wanting to encourage you all to challenge yourselves. And let's now get into, I break down 6 common categories of self-care that I personally vibe with, but I also like being very transparent with, like, don't start and stop with me. I am not like the head of the self-care, world committee. I am just giving more information to you. So I would want you guys to Google types of self-care and see where you identify. There's plenty of resources online that have more than 6 areas or even less than. So if you feel like you need to add or subtract some so that way you feel connected to these areas, to start defining them in yourself and for yourself, just don't stop here is all I'm saying. So let's move into these 6 areas of self-care that I will basically always reinforce here at Zen and Coco, because these are the ones that I align with. So when I'm speaking in general, again, know that I'm referencing, my preferred 6 areas. So let's start with them. Breakdown. It's daily essentials. We have physical self-care, emotional self-care, social self-care, spiritual self-care, and intellectual self-care. So starting with daily essentials. Daily essentials are all your most basic needs, like hygiene, proper rest, and proper nourishment and hydration. You can also include things like, shelter and being properly attired for the weather. It's literally like taking care of yourself in your physical space, merging into like your day-to-day reoccurring physical needs, right? So physical self-care kind of expands on that, because physical self-care is fulfilling your body's inherent and instinctual need to be kinetic in play, exercise, or emotionally charged physical expression. And I like to think of emotionally charged physical expression being things like dance, like, artistic dance. It's a beautiful physical expression of, what can easily be linked to emotions, right? So after physical self-care, we move then into emotional self-care, which involves choosing to actively and positively process, reflect, sort through, share, and or express our emotions. So that was a mouthful, right? But this can include activities like seeing a therapist or simply writing down thoughts in a daily journal. Social self-care is making sure we nurture the relationships we maintain outside of self. And I feel like that's also super straightforward. And I love this area of self-care because I really believe that investing quality time here is a strong indicator that you're probably at least trying to do your best, but likely are doing well in your other areas. Because you have it to give, I just really think that your social self-care can really suffer like first or easiest when the other ones are at depletion, because you already know if you don't feel right, you can be canceling and not see your peoples and not check in, right? So, it's like, again, when you're slacking elsewhere, you don't want to hang, and that's just how it goes. So spiritual self-care is where we are trying to tap into soul nourishing activities that will revitalize or realign you with your purpose, yourself and your worldviews, and even your higher connections to your faith or religion, and the collective consciousness of just existing with all of these people. It's really crazy, right? So these kind of practices can include prayer, reciting or reading specific texts, or deeply meditating. And last but not least, and my personal favorite area of self-care to really dig into, is intellectual. I like to think of these intellectual activities being like really focused on making sure you're operated with like a clear head. That you're trying to make your best and most sound judgments and choices. And also with a head eager to come back again and again to improvement and growth. Activities here would be the pursuit of learning new crafts or taking up new hobbies, working on self-care improvement. So, girl, if you trying to gain weight or lose it, if we're out here releasing bad habits, or we're just simply out here trying to better manage our finances, these are all self-improvement activities. Or again, I like to just end with simple stuff like just reading for pleasure, or taking time to play like Sudoku on your iPhone. And that was so corny because does anybody even still play that? I just aged myself. Don't judge me, y'all. Anyway, look. It can't ever be said enough that self-care isn't selfish. It is not selfish. And making space for it can save you from living a life of not tapping into your full and true self. And who really wants to be caught out there self-sabotaging like that? Girl, no. Like, let's all collectively get a damn grip and start moving with the knowledge that self-care is vital. The bottom line is that it is all about choosing to invest in a well-maintained and well-nourished relationship with self. When we're optimized in this way, woo-wee, like anything is possible. And why do we not so easily recognize that this is honestly the most important relationship to cultivate? Think about it. I challenge you, sisters, to start choosing yourself more. And really pay attention and watch how things begin to move and shift positively in your life. I bet you it do. So, all right, y'all. On that note, I'm going to head on out. I hope you got some stuff to mull over. Thank you again for listening to Zen and Coco. Please don't forget to follow our Twitter and IG at Zen and Coco. And follow me, your host Tameko, at Cocoa Butter Mothers. And don't forget, new episodes will be dropping each and every Wednesday. Peace, y'all.
If you enjoyed this episode, please share, like, and subscribe so you won't miss the next Zen and Coco combo. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Zen and Coco. And follow host Tameko on Instagram at Cocoa Butter Mothers. Peace.